and the uptown massive.
Yes, of course, nothing will stop us tonight. Nothing will stop us tonight. Murphy's Law. Some say Rowley, Jumbi, Likoto. No, not tonight. Not tonight. As of course Kurt Allen say, no matter what you do, there are some that you cannot influence or overcome with your superstitious so-called Jumbi from Likoto, as some would have it, because they simply want to dominate, embarrass, and give us some kind of impression that somehow Rowley is some kind of political guru. No, he's a blasted scoundrel. He's a conman. He is a not yet convict. But all of those are important, of course, to lead up to what has to happen as the population, of course, take its revenge against a very, what I consider to be iniquitous, evil, wicked, diabolical, opportunistic PNM Rowley-led, and of course all of the evil that would have been the population would have been subjected to. Once again, of course, this is the corridor transformation, and your host, of course, Lennox Smith here, and we are going to go until 10 o'clock. No way. No way, of course. I did, of course, was in the process of extrapolating what Kurt Allen said, and he said everything. The man is a rapist. He's incompetent. He is, of course, very aggressive. His veracity, but the veracity of what he says means nothing. And then, of course, he's very aggressive, and he's very, of course, choleric, and very acidus in terms of his commentary and his attempts to project onto the population that he is superior to everybody else. And at the end of the day, it turns out to be zero, a waste of time. Don't forget, of course, that the lines are still there, 337-6940. We'll add one or two lines again. But, of course, the internet aspect of it has been corrected. So I know that people were waiting, and with bated breath, I know that the false start might have get people a bit edgy. But of course, I want to hear from you, and I want to hear, of course, some of your own experiences. But Kurt Allen really had it. Let's just play a little piece of Kurt Allen again to, of course, conclude this segment. But once again, the man is evil. He is wicked. He is diabolical, and he ought not to have been in government in the first place. But PNM, desperate, and of course, their greed for power has created, of course, this destruction called Keith Christopher Rowley as Prime Minister in Trinidad and Tobago. Listen to this.
Before you think you'll get away, well, you began in the Senate of opposition and waited your turn. Then with Manning as your PM giving directions, you studied and learned. You paid attention to Robbie Pandey Kamla, observed there all their mistakes. So there is not one excuse that you can make, none that we can take. Cause we give you a turn to ride in DPM1 motor car. You change the whole interior with propaganda, it's smelling drunk, sour. We give you 2 turns as PM of this nation. So now it's my Creole obligation to give you a turn before your resignation. Remember, it's me who call Eric Duffy. We call Chambers Dunsey. It's your turn now. It's me who beat Robbie like a Bobali. It's your turn now. So if we say you are a bully, don't take it personally. Your turn now. Go tell your friends and your family, it comes with the duty. It's your turn now. Do not believe that we are afraid to call a donkey a ass or a spade a spade. We will pepper you like a chow. Dr. Row, it's your turn now. Before you go, before you pack and run away, I wonder what Penny and Henry have to say. Before you go, before you think you'll get away, you tell the world you go lock, call the heart up. Once you get the vote. You said the buck is going to stop at the TP top when you took your oath. The airport scandal section 34 email gate. Like a raging bull, you declared war and we took the bait. But since you get your turn, nobody at jail for corruption. Since you get your turn, no members of the opposition in prison. Since you get 2 turns, you promise to set things right. White collar crime you vow to fight. But is a set-up back with no bite. Remember, it's we who call Pandy racist. We even call him rapists. Your turn now. Silver fox end up in jail till he come out looking frail. Your turn now. So if we say your government represents the 1%, your turn now. Really rich get richer, the poor man in the gutter. Your turn now. Do not believe your powers of Lekato could overthrow the power of a calypso. The ancestors wouldn't allow. Dr. Row, your turn now. Before you go, before you pack and run away. So much unemployment, but still you raise your pay. Before you go, before you think you'll get away.
Yes, indeed, of course. I think we were heard enough to, of course, draw the come to the inescapable conclusion that Kurt Allen was supposed to be the monarch. He was both, of course, and all of us are experts in this particular area because we are born Trinbagonians, and clearly, when one looks at the depth, when one looks at the expanse, when one looks at the complexity of the issues that would have been encompassed in that particular song, as opposed, of course, to the guy, they're separated by 1 point, but I think if, to be fair to Allen, if, of course, Allen was given, of course, the nod of the judges, then he would have been miles ahead of this particular song. Of course, Francis, I think we should listen to it as well and draw your own conclusion, because it was placid. It was, of course, not providing the kind of, it was more giving advice than anything else to, of course, a scenario in the future. Just in case, of course, he's a young senator as well. But listen to his contribution and maybe we can draw a conclusion. Don't forget, of course, the number to call the light out with 1-2-3-7-6-9-40. And you get tonight 2 for 1. So we have a party now that we are now engaged. There was some electrical problem earlier, and my apology for the break in transmission during that period. But we are up and running.
Greetings to you, Prime Minister. This letter is just for you. My intention was to give you this letter when election was true. But since Dr. Rowley was stepping down, I figured I couldn't wait. I'm reading it now before it's too late. I hear people say the PNM wasting the people's time. I hear people say the UNC will scrape every last dime. And some cannot choose between bad and worse, so I had to write this plea for the next leader of this country. 'Cause we need to see a nation full of success. We need a leader addicted to progress. Someone who not here for the money,
So clearly, you will make your judgment as to whether or not Dr. Rowley's handpicked successor, this Chinese fella called Young, whether or not he meets the minimum of qualification to be Prime Minister. Rowley had none at all. And this fella, in my view, is below Rowley. So imagine, so he is in the minus. Rowley was unsuitable, is unsuitable, have always been. But this fella, Stuart Young, nobody knows him from anywhere. Nobody knows what he has done in the past, except of course to hitch his wagon to the PNM, and Rowley of course bring him on and foist him on the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Most despicable and most egregious. Let's hear some more of this advice this fella is giving to the next incoming Prime Minister. I don't think he is talking about Kamala Prasad Bisesa because she's accomplished. She could teach him a few things as well. But of course, clearly he's trying to give some kind of consolation to Stuart Young. Let's hear him.
That's why I hope this letter you read for these issues to resolve. So sweetie auntie could start to evolve. Cause we need to see ministries that competent. Information you'll get in 10 seconds. Public servants who will answer the phone and give you advice with a pleasant tone. A bank run shouldn't take you the whole day. It's time we stop playing. I what we want see. Most respectfully, to whom this may be. I used to play I was sheriff when I was a little boy. But when I see they arrested Earl, I say, thank God my gun's a toy. It reminds me there are few ways up and 1,000 ways to fall. That's not just for one, but that goes for all. Many leaders in this land could be guilty or innocent, and it's hard for the people to truly know, so they will judge your intent. So before you walk in that big office, take a look at your character and have a long chat with Almighty Father. Cause we need to see power without ego. Take a ride on the bus, let people know. Don't be too much on your high horse, but be confident whenever time calls. Careful how much leaders cook one pot. Them thing have to stop. That what we want see. Most respectfully, to whom this may be. Ba 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 ba. I'm sure by now you will notice this is written in the future tense, in hopes that you are a leader of great poise and great resilience, one who structures TNT with its local policies, not from global powers. That is what I mean. I don't want you to think that this is right and what is wrong, but I want you to hear the people needs. Keep your ears down on the ground, and don't be like Gillian Bishop and not care what the people think, cause you could still learn from the babes and sucklings. Cause we need to see TNT in the World Cup. Innovation from young people non-stop. A culture industry to hang we emblem high. So everybody could get piece of the pie. A leader who strikes fair in them criminals. That is critical. I what we was see. Most respectfully. Yeah.
To whom this may be.
So yes, people, of course, so you have gotten both sides of the coin. One is futuristic, one is the idealistic. One is, of course, saying that, listen, in the realm of fantasy, let's put it that way, the reality is that he couldn't be referring to neither Short Young nor Rowley, because Short Young, if he had any inclination or any propensity to adhere or to manifest the lessons that Calypso would have, of course, given, he would have disassociated himself with Rowley in the first place. And eventually, but no, he's waiting, of course, for that numero uno position. And from that perspective, that Calypso really is futuristic and exercise in phantomism. It's a fantasy. However, Kurt Alling's Calypso was one of history, of existential realities, of what the people of Trinidad and Tobago have experienced over the last 10 years. With, of course, a marooned bunch of opportunistic political parasites of a mafia style, with, of course, a criminal propensity nestled, of course, in an organization called the PNM, which, of course, is led by Rowley, and it continues so to be. There are some things that are brewing that I will not share with you at this point in time. But in due course, we will, of course, be able to converse on those matters. But one of the issues that we must raise tonight is what really Rowley is doing abroad at this time. He told us before he went to the CARICOM summit that, listen, when I come back, we will deal with, of course, with my resignation. He came back. He told us that he is going to, of course, give up on the 16th of this month. But yet still, he goes abroad. At whose expense? Whose expense? That's the first thing, but let's go straight to the line. Professor, good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night. Because Martin inside.
Yes,
I hope
man.
you had a wonderful carnival as I did. My one was on the couch, not the red couch.
I hear you, my friend. Don't ever seek or contemplate the red couch.
All right.
It's good advice. Go ahead.
Let me talk about KCR.
Yes.
KCR said after he go to Barbados, he's coming back for Trinidad. So he gave us
right. I just said that. I don't understand. But go ahead.
How he could leave Carnival when they was planning for a big farewell for him somewhere down in San Fernando in another Bazari too with a lot of young ladies. How could he give up that? Something got to his stability. Did he go to California for help, or did he go to use a visa for the last time? Because they're coming down hard on visas for people who flout the sanction,
yes,
who did think on towards to American policies. And it's not only his visas, it could be his children on too. So that is my thing. The other thing is, you know what they call a Chinese laborer? A coolie, right?
A coolie.
I don't want to be offensive.
Indian to say that coolie as well. But go ahead.
Yes. So when we have one of them as prime minister, we will be in the same boat as Maduro in Venezuela. Because let's face it, this is the possibility that when the man becomes PM, his whole extended family could be in the diplomatic center, just like KCR, his Santi Muma grandchildren thing.
Yes.
So supposedly his stepdaughter decided to take a room there too. Then the diplomatic center will be housing indicted.
Yeah, or a fugitive from justice in Trinidad.
You understand how bad?
Yeah, harboring, of course, a fugitive, yes.
Right. So I can understand how people can allow that. They will say Trinidad, just like Venezuela, we following Maduro strategies, housing that protected. And the thing, if we house and harbor that sort of thing, will be using the state facilities to protect that person. Will be using the state facilities. You remember I said that when they borrowed, they alleged that to move things around in police vehicles and things like that. Would they be using the state vehicles, state security to do things like that? That is a frightening thing, you know.
Yes.
No.
I hear you. I hear a dog in the background. Could somebody deal with that, please?
Yeah, that is a Rottweiler. He go to sleep just now.
Yes, indeed. Rowley, I mean, he seemed to be all over, but he's a blasted curse anyway. Go ahead.
Right. He mischievous, something.
Yeah, he's a cur in literature in Shakespeare. That's the first time I got the word cur, meaning, of course, a dog. But go ahead.
I want to use your program to highlight the deficiency in the police service.
Okay.
And I go there, and people have to listen to this. On March the 1st at 2:45 a.m. At La Luna bar right in Aruca there, next right? They were basically partying all night on the road. Aruca police station is 2 big stones away.
Yes, stones throw away, yes.
Right. The police allow these people to party in the road, disrupting traffic. A vehicle had to peruse slowly through that. And this is what happened. One of the persons who was partying in the road under the influence of something jumped onto a vehicle that had a woman and a young man. And it busted his windscreen. The person who jumped and busted his windscreen was nude and stayed on the bonnet until the gentleman drove into the police station. You know what happened? They followed him with a couple of them with hoodies on the thing to basically collect their friend who was in nude to clothe him. Apparently the police was sleeping because they allowed that person to exit the police station without arresting that person. Subsequent to that, the report was made and nothing happened. The person is basically not sleeping well these days because they're surveilling him, and no matter how that person tries to contact the Aruca to find out what is happening, nothing has taken place. So it looked that the police, TTPS, were focusing in Port of Spain and not at the other areas in Trinidad, because the first thing is La Luna Bar, they should have not allowed people to party on the roadway, because that caused the whole thing. And then with the guy who damaged his windscreen was naked on his bonnet. If you see that video, you could think it's from somewhere in space.
Yeah, I saw it. Somebody drew it to my attention, but I'm so let's say tone deaf and almost immune to that kind of behavior around this time. You know, I'm from Laventille, so you know, so nothing really surprises me.
And I'm hope senior police listening to this and investigate what the police in that station was doing, because they would have captured everything if there was monitoring the cameras.
Yeah.
Because you know all the police station was being attacked. Imagine a couple, 4 or 5 people run inside there, some of them with hoodies, grab the colleague, because apparently the driver of the car believed he was, they jump on his car for him to come in to rob him, and now they're stalking him.
Oh.
So it is that bad. And the police, the CTVS has collapsed. Lennox, I don't want to take any more time, but
wow. That's a development, because of course, well, we were regaled with, of course, how good and successful. Just about Tuesday, maybe about midday or just after midday, as of course the minister walked with, of course, the acting commissioner of, the commissioner of police, the acting commissioner of police and other senior officers of the protective services. But then about 5 o'clock after that, all the time they weren't speaking. 5 o'clock after that, somebody is murdered in, of course, in St. James. I mean, I could have said, and it did came across my mind that, well, why wouldn't they shut up? Why wouldn't they wait until the festivities are over before they make these pronouncements? Because it appears that elements, whether it be something in the cosmos, or whether it's some blight or some kind of curse that these people have, that as soon as they talk, as far as crime and criminality is concerned, it appears that there is something in the atmosphere, some mystic, some mystery that, of course, caused them to have to eat their words whole.
All right. Let me close out quickly.
Go ahead, yes.
He was happy with Urla, right? Remember, he vigorously defended her in
yes,
Parliament.
Yes.
And where Urla ended up. And now I hear he's happy with Benji. And the only way he's happy with Benji, because both of them, basically, their level of intelligence is probably a little superior in respect. So that's why he's happy with Benji. I'm going to have an answer.
I hear my friend. Of course, call again as we continue to extrapolate. Yeah, as soon as the talk, and by now we could predict that hush your mouth now. But any port for opportunistic storm here, while it may sound like an oxymoron or contradictory, but a storm here really means good news, an opportunistic good news scenario. And as to say that, of course, their functionality, the mechanism, the systems they put in place would have been, of course, worked like smoothly like oil in an engine, but only to find out later down the road that, of course, they had to prematurely, of course, close down the carnival because of the very violence that they said did not occur maybe 5 hours earlier. I mean, it is just pathetic. But I think what is important to us also is that why it is that Dr. Rowley has chosen at this time to get out of the country. I make the point because I want us to focus on that scenario as well, because here it is. He told us that, he gave us the impression that there was nothing else to be done, except when he came back from, of course, that event in Barbados, to just close up shop, get some, dot the I's and cross the T's, and do some, of course, what I consider to be routine in order, of course, to hand over to Stuart Young. Of course, that by itself is another issue. I want to tell you that may not happen at all. Let's not waste time. That may not happen at all. Because I cannot see a situation where a sitting prime minister, he didn't die, he had no accident, he is not mentally incapacitated, but of course, mentally incapacitated here, as far as Rowley is concerned, is a relative term. Because, of course, we could say that he's a total rapscallion. He is no damn good. He is a scoundrel. He's the scum of the earth. So we could say all of that in terms of whether or not his mental stability, or if he is in cognitive and cerebral and or intellectual decline, or is he, of course, some people say, is he bipolar? is he, of course, schizophrenic? All of those terms. And, of course, I think the one that is closer to the reality is that he is, of course, a multiple, or should I say, a recidivist or a repetitive person who, of course, is an adequate contender for being, of course, being classified as a sociopath. But why it is that Rowley is out of the country today at our expense? Why? It is bad enough to, of course, remain in the office, remain as leader of the party that caused you to be prime minister, a provision that the Constitution provides for. But when it comes to a sitting prime minister who is not incapacitated, has not or is not prepared to call elections, but decides, of course, to hand over as if it's some kind of what I consider to be trophy to somebody else so that they could get, especially now. So in one sitting, in one term, two different persons getting a salary of $87,000 a month and, of course, a pension at the same time. I am certain that the Constitution and those who drafted or were part and parcel of the debate did not cater for that kind of abuse. You go in, call elections, or do like Trudeau, where, of course, you wait until the party produces a leader, and then, of course, the process is logical, sequential, and palatable and acceptable. But you cannot say that you take a side. You remain the leader of the party that have you as prime minister for an extensive period of a person who would have succeeded you, and it is honky-dory. No, Rowley, it can't operate like that. That is impossible. When this man would have gotten the position of prime minister, it should have been what the party produced. The party produced that. It's the elected representative did that, not the party. There was no internal elections. And of course, to deepen and to widen and broaden the suspicion about the conduct of Rowley, because clearly it was not about succession planning. How could it have been succession planning? Because succession planning has a specific, what I consider to be, if you want to call it terms of reference, if you want to call it process, if you want to call it stages, if you want to call it scenarios. But anybody with a modicum of common sense will know that this was a knee-jerk response more than succession planning, which of course is a term that was used in order to, of course, somehow camouflage what in effect has been a knee-jerk, helter-skelter, higgledy-piggledy, a disordered haste, a scenario where, of course, let me make sure that nobody's calling. Yes. Oh, yes, we have a caller. Sorry about that. My phone seemed to be on silent. I'll take care of that in a while. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Sorry about that.
Yes, Dr. Lennox.
Yes, a pleasant good night. Sorry about that. Yes.
Yes, Dr. Lennox. How are you doing there?
I'm all right. I miss you folks for the few days that I was unavoidably absent because of.
Okay.
But of course, I continue to work in the background. As you will see, I have uploaded various videos and made certain comments and so on because we cannot allow circumstance to stymie what is, of course, a revolution and, of course, a labor of not just love, but, of course, a labor to save Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, well, I hear asking a question. Where Rowley going?
Yeah.
Right? Well, let me help you out. Now, he's going to California, right?
Yes.
Right. Do you know that Chevron oil company, oil and gas?
Uh-huh.
The main office was based in
Okay.
California, Ramon, California.
Right.
But they have moved, but I don't know if Rowley knew that. They moved to Texas now.
Right. But we don't know if he is there taller because on these jaunts, he normally wouldn't take the media. He would have go almost clandestine to the population and just, of course, send back some pictures as he did to give us the impression that somehow he is an open man. Openness means verification. Yes. Openness means that there must be some objective criteria where everybody could feel comfortable and comforted that the process was not tainted. You cannot be in your own cause, make an argument and tell us that because you made it, that we must accept. No. So I am not going to take any one of those photographs that would have been sent back seriously. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah. So well, you see, they had it on the itinerary that he was going to California. So I was doing a little checking on the internet.
Yeah.
Chevron main office is in California.
Right.
Ramon, California. Right?
All right.
Because of no, there's something with the how you call it, the climate change now. Climate change. So they have to move from there because I think with that climate change is Polyphena, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the office has moved from there and they're going to Houston, Texas.
I see.
So that is one of the guesses that I made. Yeah, I made that guess in my mind. I said, well, if he going to California, he might be killing two birds with one stone. He's going to see by himself, and he's probably going there.
I hear you, my friend.
And by the way, we are six. I said, by the way, we are six.
By the way, what?
9 murders in 60.
Yeah, of course. That's part and parcel. That's part for the course. And they will. All right, thank you. Yes, indeed, of course. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Let me see what happened here. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. I think that is Mr. Faizabad. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. I seen a note here saying unstable connection. I doubt it's my side. Yeah, go ahead.
Good night to you, contributors.
Good night to you as well, my friend.
Yeah, a pleasant good night to all the other stuff.
Yes.
But I don't seem like I'm coming across.
Huh?
But I hear you, but I'm not coming across on here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You now start to pick up here. But I've seen a note alerts saying that the connection is unstable. All right. Well, of course we have lost that. So let's go to the next caller. Sorry about that, next caller. You can call because we seem to have a bad connection with, of course, Mr. Faisabad. Yes, indeed. But of course, there must be some concern with respect, of course, to the haste. Almost as if there's a level of urgency. And the urgency started, as I said, when there was no indication that there was urgency. What we knew is that Rowley and they will go to the zenith of the period for calling elections. We understood that because they understand as well that their cuckoo is cook, and that their asses are grasses, and therefore will of course want to extract as much time as they can, even though of course that the wish would have been of course one that they will wish otherwise. But let's go to Elijah. Good night. Welcome.
Good night, Mr. Lennox.
Yeah, good night to you, my friend.
Who's on your live. Good night,
Yes.
Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
Mr. Lennox, listen, you know, I look at the news over the carnival weekend and so forth.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, so much bacchanal going on in Guyana and Venezuela. You know, with
Yes, with that, the Argyle arrangement seemed to be up in the air. It seemed to be under some serious pressure.
Yeah, because well, soldiers on both sides get killed, all kind of thing, right? And this thing getting worse. It is getting worse. So one of the things we have to look at is the fact that because we have this wicked, evil government in this place, our borders not protected. So you know, the chances are many Venezuelans might be running inside of this place here. Right, that's one of the big issues I'm looking at here right now.
But yeah,
right?
I mean, that is quite a possibility. Yeah, that's quite a possibility. I know nobody running from Guyana right now because, of course, the opportunity and the optimism,
money.
overwhelms, of course, or trumps over any health or tragedy that would befall Guyana at this point in time, because everything seems to be in their favor. Their pendulum is only swinging north. It's only up and up and up. Yes. yeah, the sky's the limit.
You know, well, listen now. I only talking about Rowley.
Yeah.
Well, Rowley knew running because Trump jumped in, so Rowley running out.
Yeah, well, we
said
that, we consider that. But what specific, what is the specific things that he believes, well, he's culpable of, or for which, of course, he had taken that decision? Because no way Rowley would have taken that decision to demit office. All the talking. He said, because we know that when he tell you to run, you have to stand up, and when he tell you to jump, you know, you have to stay still. So we know that he's a narcissist. We know that he's an egotist. We know that he's a power mongerer and a rank and unadulterated opportunist, and a person who will engage in criminal conduct, utilizing public office and public funds. So we know that.
Yeah, right now, Rowley Bamsi clapping like a church service right now, you know.
Yeah, oh yeah,
because he knows silver blue lights.
Or like one of his fake meetings with, of course, imported crowds. yeah. Clapping for nothing.
Boy.
The other day,
madness in the face.
Yeah, I can't clap now. You have to tell the people when to clap.
One more thing. One more thing before I go. Listen.
Yeah, go ahead.
I see Abel trying to pull a shot on me.
Yeah.
Imagine the Auditor General telling he's a old thief. I come for the 2.6 billion.
Caller, hold on. I have another caller. As soon as after that, I'll take you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't come for $2.6 billion, right? But you're telling the public, we fix it, and no money in missing, like we born yesterday. Somehow, like we born through one back passage.
Yeah. And they expect, yeah, because they withdrew that bogus investigation that was self-serving, that she should now follow suit and, of course, withdraw her judicial review in the court. Not at all. In fact, the opposition said the right thing. Why is it that now that has been done, why it is that Imbert is not fervently or expeditiously investigated? Yeah. All right. We have about 2 callers.
Exactly. The Privy Council said that.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gone. Yes.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, caller, on the system.
Good
Go
night,
ahead.
Mr. Smith. Good night, Mr. Smith.
Speak a little louder.
Good night, Mr. Smith.
Good night to you, my friend. Good night.
Calling from St. James.
Go ahead, St. James.
Yes. So, the other day, the minister, Mr. Young, Prime Minister-elect.
Caller on the handset, just hold on. I have Mr. St. James on the line. Go ahead, Mr. St. James.
Yeah, he admitted that
for the Dragon Gas deal royalties, we've been paying so much of millions of US dollars to Venezuela
Yes.
in the hope that the gas comes to fruition.
Uh-huh.
And I was wondering if the Trump regime and the Guyanese government may infer that that money is being used to finance a war against Guyana. Because it's a lot of money. And Venezuela obviously need funds to finance any war.
That's right.
Against anyone.
That's right.
So it
Violence for their
quite,
own society and their soldiers. Yeah. Go ahead.
So it seems quite odd that a country that has been sanctioned for so long have so much money to go and interfere with a CARICOM country. And the finance for that is from another Caribbean neighbor. It's odd. It might be simply coincidental, but it must be looked at.
Oh yes, indeed.
Because the wise man has the power to reason. And it sounds quite reasonable that we have been funding the Venezuelan government to go after the Guyanese Essequibo. It's possible. I'm not saying it is.
No, but it is logical. It is plausible. It is practical. Because of course, if you would have noticed, and I commend your perceptiveness, because here it is. When the statement was made by Marco, the Secretary of State for the United States, and of course the President, in relation, of course, to the funding, by certain elements in the world of the Maduro administration. It was amazing that we now know, like Doc Bottom, Short Chunks had to belch out how much money was paid here, how much money was paid there, what were the things that we were paying for, up to, including, of course, I was surprised to know we were paying for social intervention initiative, and then has the audacity and the temerity and the gall to tell us that, listen, that is normal for, of course, contracts like these. But before that, he was telling us that it was secret. Remember that? He was saying that of course, it was, non-disclosure clause, and therefore they can't talk. Suddenly, he mouth come like parrot bottom, and that is the kind of mismanagement and poor governance and betrayal of the country that these fellas have been engaged in, and person like you and I should be relishing in that level of stupidity that these fellas have now to, of course, exhibit plain in front of all and sundry. Go ahead.
Then he had to expose the actual earnings of Petrotrin for the last number of years while it was open,
and still attempting to make it look as though it was not making money. And all over social media, after he said that, it was all kinds of documents coming out. People dig into their archives about the video and documentary to show where it's nonsense he talking. How dare he believe that he could fool the people in the face of all of this evidence?
But in order to lure an investment, and I use the word lure, because you know how they are.
Yeah.
And he had to expose the actual earnings of Petrotrin prior to its closure.
Yes.
Because nobody's going to buy a company that has a record of failure and problems with labor. Because that's what the problem, and they were saying. you know,
Yeah.
that because of our labor issues, our industries have fallen.
Yeah,
Which is not so.
but
It is because of our
I see it conversely
government.
that
Yeah.
they have a tendency to attract questionable and unsavory potential investors, including,
Well, I
of course,
was
that
getting to
yam, that yam that came from Ghana. Ghana being, of course, a victim, or put another way, in the jaws of a IMF program. But that is what the role he has projected to us as attaching our economic survivability to that kind of economy and that kind of management. I mean, it is pathetic.
But haven't raised the issue
Yes.
of the yams. You recall that they had actually placed a price on the African snails. So I guess they're gonna come up with a recipe for yam and snail.
yeah. I mean, these fellas are just. You make a mockery of them. You lampoon them. You make them look like they are comics, because I mean, just the other day, I may play tonight when, of course, this buffoon tells us about he has a bike and he will ride a bike and he will has a coal pot and he roasting breadfruit. All kind of hogwash that really actually is irrelevant, and you want to hit a one clout for the kind of nonsense that they're talking.
But he posed for a photograph with the top brass, and he was quite blushing. I had to look more than once to try to figure out what may have been happening.
No, you really have to. How could one man assemble so much nincompoops in one place to manage contemporary Trinidad and Tobago that boasts, of course, of a very educated population, and that man foists that on us like total Neanderthals?
Exactly. Because that's the type he likes.
People who could manipulate and are willing to sell out the nation for 30 pieces of silver. That is what it is, a bunch of Judases.
No. Don't say that. Don't say that, Mr. Smith.
But tell me why.
You must remember that Judas had the decency to go hang himself up.
Well, who knows? It's early days yet. You never can tell. That is to be.
so they are not Judases because they are not decent.
All right, but they have come.
And how
they are committing the act. Yes. Present tense. Yes.
But how can one elected by dummies to be prime minister, and then you suddenly decide, I don't want the job anymore, goes off to the United States, and you don't call an election?
Just imagine that.
How is that possible?
How is that possible? But I know that the opposition will not take it lying down. I repose my confidence that they will find a way to have him remain there. You know, it reminds me, I think, in the book of Revelation, when, of course, time will come when people they are so iniquitous that they would call the mountains and the rocks to fall on them, and it wouldn't fall. Well, I think Rowley is so attached to that level of iniquity, that level of mismanagement, that level of evil to the people, that not even the cosmos will allow him to leave in peace. It may well be in pieces.
He can't.
Yes.
He has to spend.
Yeah, he has to pay the price. He has to bear the burden.
He has to.
Yeah. All right, my friend. We have some more callers.
Yes, I'm sorry to take up your time this afternoon.
Yeah, no problem. I think it is good. I think it will be hectic going down the road, and we have to do some emasculation and yeah. All right. A pleasant good night. Welcome, Pundit.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Good night, Mr. Yeah. Good night, Dr. Lennox. This is the Karma man.
Yes, man. Yes. Let me just take this call and tell them. Caller, just hold on. We have a caller on the telephone. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I will be short. I just want to look at something, and I think you could maybe elaborate on it.
You got what?
If we all read scriptures,
yes.
I say you could elaborate on it, right? If we all read scriptures, it's supposed to point to the truth.
Yes.
And I think most people read it. Then how come that some people, they're reading the truth, they see what is wrong happening, and yet still they support that? So I want to know if they're living in denial of the truth. I return that. I got it. Okay.
I hear you, my friend. Well, of course, the scriptures itself talks about these people who, of course, will see the truth and say it is not. But I make reference, of course, to Shakespeare when he said, I think in Macbeth, when he said, of course, fear is foul and foul is fair. Of course, meaning that there are those who cannot tell the difference between truth and truth and fiction. And of course, Dr. Rowley has demonstrated that over and over. He will tell you, of course, one thing now. And this afternoon, I was looking at his track record as to the amount of lies that he told and the amount of failures that came with those lies. And of course, the amount of what I consider to be concoctions that if it was a mechanism, it would be a contraption. And I am referring to, of course, the situations where they actually manufactured scenarios in order to look good, to stay in office. Like, of course, the situation with Vincent Nelson and the jeopardy that they were prepared to put Anand Ramlogan and Ramdeen in. Accomplished, of course, legal minds in this country who have worked, of course, for the poor and the downtrodden, and to, of course, use state resources and your position to, of course, try to set them up in order to secure conviction so that somehow you believe you could stay in office. I say to them, oh, what a tangled web we weave when we first set out to deceive. Let me repeat that. Oh, what a tangled web we weave when you first set out to deceive, Dr. Rowley. And of course, when one looks at a number of other things, the sandals, when one look at, of course, the Cabo Star and the Ocean Flower, when one look at what he told the people of Tobago, and then, of course, got, of course, a barge to transport the people's both, of course, grocery as well as hardware items up to Tobago because it's a friend or somebody connected to the PNM. And of course, the creme de la creme in the quicksand, if you want to call it that. Sand here meaning that the grains I'm talking about. In all of that, you have, of course, Balize House. I passed there this afternoon, and I can tell you it's a monument of not just corruption, not just evil, not just dispossessing the people of Trinidad and Tobago, but Dr. Rowley must be able to be made to account for why it is that you had $400 million allocated to a highway to nowhere, why it is that over $200 million was, of course, allocated and you allowed it from what I consider to be a secondary institution, TSTT, when his personal friend who bankrolled his campaign against Rowley to utilize $200 million to purchase, of course, Neil Massey Communications. Why you did that, Rowley? Why it is that you take the same friend and allow them to mortgage the piece of land around the savannah where, of course, the Ministry of Health headquarters would have been constructed, use that for them to go to the bank, use it as collateral to build that, and then we, taxpayers, must now pay the entire sum. And as fate will have it, as fate will have it, because they wanted to get at least Anand Ramlogan and there during the course of Kamala Prasad Bissasa's administration. She wanted to get an interpretation at least of the Bolt arrangement. The Bolt arrangement, where it is, that probably was worse than what recently has transpired here in Trinidad as far as the headquarters of the Ministry of Health is concerned and how it was constructed and what the government facilitated. Nobody else could get that unless, of course, you are close to these fellas, because they believe that somehow Trinidad and Tobago's belong to them and they could do what the hell they want. So that, for example, the very company that was on Balize House, after Rowley told us in all certain terms that no government employed or deployed or contractor worked on Balize House, we have, of course, the pictures of Jusamco pouring concrete on in the basement. In the basement, we don't know what has happened to the superstructure in terms of their contribution. But what we know is that the same Jusamco was given, of course, a part of the contract to construct the highway to Point Fortin, and that part which they constructed fell into the swamp below. We don't know yet who paid for that and how it's being paid. And then, of course, the most bizarre, the company that is now constructing those HGC homes not too far from the flyover up the Eastern Main Road when you are exiting Port of Spain. That company was in fact office and everything, office site and everything was on Balize House, on the southern side of Balize House. And of course, Balize House itself, in order to accommodate that monstrosity of over 100 million, that by itself is a question, because Rowley said that Balize House and Balize and the PNM was broke. Over $5 million. Where the hell you get hundreds of millions to build that monstrosity? And then, of course, you commandeered, you push back the fence, the adjacent fence, the partition fence of the Tranquility Government Secondary School to accommodate that monstrosity. That is not just misbehavior in public office. That is criminal behavior, unlimited. Unlimited, Rowley. And you have to pay, and you must pay. And I ask the question again, and it is up for grabs in terms of wherever you wish to go, you can, because with these people, they don't tell you the truth. Only when, of course, it becomes necessary, as Cho Chong started, of course, like Parrot Bottom or Duck Bottom. He started to scooch out all kinds of figures now, because Donald Trump and them say that Trinidad and Tobago, among other countries, have been bankrolling the wicked, evil, diabolical Maduro administration. Now that they find themselves not just in a sticky wicket, but their asses are palpitating. They now, of course, trying to level up for the population, and we must be sympathetic to them? No, at all. When we were asking for information all along, we could have guided and prevented, but no, because it is a conspirators group of individuals with a mafia agenda to fleece and to steal and to dispossess the vulnerable and the gullible in this country. And therefore, now the time has come, and it has come full circle. They're looking to try to see if they can ingratiate, and they could, of course, look for get sympathy from the population. There shall be no sympathy. I say to you, Laventil, I say to you, Trinidad and Tobago cannot afford the PNM. The PNM has proven to be too damn expensive for Trinidad and Tobago. They have decimated our economy. They have generated a fiscal scenario unprecedented. You can't get, of course, $50 or $20 in the bank US. Let me tell you what happened to me today. A friend of mine gave me $100 Canadian dollar. You know what I say? 100 Canadian dollar to assist me with the internet tonight. I had to find money, borrow money elsewhere until I could resolve that matter. But guess what happened? I went to the bank that we would normally be dealing with, and I could tell you, Ansa Makal, and they told us they don't deal with Canadian money. I went to the central bank. First, I desperate. Personally, they said that they're only dealing with, of course, Trinidad money, Trinidad currency. So they can't change that, but they advised me to go to Royal Bank, because obviously Royal is, of course, a Canadian-based company. So to Scotiabank. Well, I bothered to go to Scotiabank, but I went to Royal Bank, and as I reach in, they say I could only get it, I could get change, yes, but that could only happen if I have a bank account with Royal Bank. Understand what is happening here? So I take my chance, and I went across the road to, of course, Republic Bank. They told me the same thing as Royal Bank. I must have a banking account with them for me to change $100 Canadian. What is happening in this country? What is happening? And then Rowley has the audacity, the temerity, the gall, and the effrontery, when people, in spite of all of this, what I consider to be humbug and hurt and multiple and complex hurdles to progress and development, business people, in spite of that, find ways and means around that. He then suddenly says, well, listen, mass costumes too expensive, or put another way, must not consume foreign dollars. Mustn't consume foreign dollars. It mustn't be imported, in other words. And somehow, the ease of doing business, which of course is an international, what I consider to be objective for most countries who want to invite investors into your country. Imagine a fella from Canada coming here, and because he doesn't have a bank account in Royal Bank or any one of the other banks, because in my bank they ain't taking it at all. And of course, Canadian currency is one, of course, of the, what I consider to be the well-known currency, not like Trinidad dollar, who, of course, Stuart Young tried to tell us that the $100 bills that he extracted from people's mattress, because they don't want to put the money in the bank, they save it up, $100 bills. He tried to tell us, as his argument for giving us a limited time span, to return all of those over 800 million of those notes that were in circulation. Give us a limited time to bring them back in, because these $100 bills from Trinidad was being used for money laundering, and is the note of choice for persons who engage in drug dealing. That man is an ass. And so, of course, on the ground report and elsewhere, I would challenge, I would have in those days challenged Stuart Young, since, of course, the blue note, Trinidad and Tobago blue note, is the currency or the denomination of the bill of choice for those persons who are engaged in drug running in and around Trinidad, coming from the South America, whether it be Bolivia, whether it be, of course, Venezuela, or any one of the other countries of South America, on its way to, of course, their commodity on its way to the north, whether it's United States or Europe. So I asked the question and I gave him a challenge. And I say, well, man, if it is that these people utilizing our blue notes as transaction for their drugs, then I want Stuart Young. He shouldn't be here now to try to be prime minister in order to further deepen the travail, the disaster, the decadence that is Trinidad and Tobago today, caused by them. And so I said, full up a blasted pirogue with stacks of blue notes and go out in the Gulf of Paria and say, because he loves to believe that somehow he and Rowley believe that they are law enforcement conveniently. When it is convenient, they say they know nothing about certain things in as far as law enforcement is concerned. And when it is beneficial to them and believe that they could get some kind of political currency, they then, of course, claim it. So I had invited him to stock up a pirogue with the blue notes, Trinidad and Tobago, $100 bills, and go out in the Gulf and in a sting operation, get one of those traffickers to sell them some cocaine and use those blue notes, those stack of blue notes filled in that pirogue, and give them it in exchange for the drug that they would have brought from South America. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Yes, it is ludicrous, it is laughable. Because if such a thing had occurred, we wouldn't have to be talking about Young or Rowley today, because the amount of bullets they would have get, and the boat itself, we would have had to say happy riddance, because they would have sunk to the bottom of the blasted Gulf of Paria. That's the point I am making. These fellas believe that somehow we are fools, and all that was about is to try to get money, steal people's money, mattress money, and develop all kinds of conditionalities and threaten them with, of course, the financial unit that is responsible for monitoring money laundering. And the banks were, of course, in collusion with the government. Because when people went there with 100,000 to be exchanged, the cut notes for the polymer notes, the bank was telling them, we run out of money, we run out of polymer, we only have 50,000 we can give you. You have to keep the next 50 in their banks. And that same money was used, God Rowley, Imsberta and Stuart Young, same money was used by the same 1%ers bank to bankroll the financial requirements of the cabinet of Rowley, to provide goods and services that were never delivered or cannot be seen to have been delivered. That's what they have done to us. A whole scheme, all that is about scheme. Right now, of course, they have, of course, the amnesty, the tax amnesties, all of which were designed to get a windfall into the banks, so that, or into the coffers of the state, so that they could finance, having, of course, mismanaged and having borrowed more than any other government. Our debt to GDP is vacillating around 90%. Debt to GDP, they met it at 44. And I want to tell all of this. Oh, sorry about that, oh gosh. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. My phone is on silent. Mr. Trin City. Sorry about that. Call back. Sorry, I just got the tail end, it appears, of your call. Yeah. It has to be said. These people are rapscallions, unlimited. A bunch of con men and con women. So what they have done? Close down the oil refinery. Nobody knew that the Ukraine war would have taken place. And since, of course, you taking credit for a windfall inherited because of the temporary increase in the price or the barrel of oil from Heritage, then why didn't you also make a scenario and say what we could have gotten if we had the oil refinery? We're supposed to be bathing in money. Foreign money I'm talking about. US dollars, the greenback. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Good night. Point 14, welcome.
Good night to you and everybody on the live.
Yes, man. Yes.
Lennox, I was listening to you and you said I had to jump in the conversation when you talk about that Canadian $100 note that you had and you see trouble to get it changed.
Yeah.
Still probably ain't get it changed. I had to come in. And I think I mentioned it in the program already, and I want to mention it again there. I did a live and I show people that for what that money, the next, you understand? Even all too is that problem to get the Canadian currency in the airport. So while I was across there, I said, let me go and test that carry to see if what I was hearing was true.
Yeah.
So I asked him to when you man take the $100, I see she opened a big book and she said, school. Currency, I said, yeah. She said, we don't change that here, you know. I said, okay, no problem. She said, all right, it's no problem. So when I reached the bank, I go to the bank and I asked the young lady, I said, good morning, I said, I come to change the Trinidad currency. She said, sorry.
Yeah, but
I didn't work with him. About 2 or 3 days after, when I went in the bank, they know your passport. I said, yeah, she said, passport thing, and she said, how much you have? And she 500. I say all of that to say this. Should I come and go on?
I'm not. You're not coming across clear. You're not coming across clear. But I would love for you to call me after the program so I can get your own experience. All right.
The fan will blow it on me. Right. So I think I'll fix it.
All right. Good. Right.
You hear me now?
Yeah. Very good. Yes.
Right. So I say all of that to say this. I will always trust on Sri Lanka. Everything that we experiencing right now, when you go in the hospital, you ain't getting proper health care, you go in the police station to do a certificate of character. The police said them you have to go online, they have no paper, they have this, they have that. All of this thing happening in Sri Lanka. And if we don't find some way to dig out the PNM like Guyana serve out on the ground and throw them in the sea, watch now, Lennox. Hard times are coming. You can't just come.
Yeah, but you have been always saying that, you know, you always making the comparison with Sri Lanka. Yeah.
Yes, because I realize how serious this is, Lennox. This thing is serious. Trinidad and Tobago like to be mama guy. We like plenty distraction. My show sing that in the calypso. All our problems, Lennox, lies in the past, you know. All of it, you know. When these calypsonians and them was singing, them wasn't singing just for singing's sake, you know. Them sing because them see what is what's going on underneath equilibrium, you know. But we turn a blind eye to what is happening in the past. And now this generation right now, some of these people in this generation, they're lazy. When you're watching the news and they ask, like when I have the people poll and they ask the people a certain question concerning politics, they just can't answer it properly. But tell them something about carnival, yeah man, they're up in arms. They know to get the best answer. Who should win the road match? Who should do this? Who should do that? But anything but politics, these people are ignorant to the truth. And this is what causing we to be in this problem today. I
think there is a learning curve that is required now. There is a quick learning curve that is required, and we have to get there quickly as a population.
Well, here well enough, sir. I will say this before I go to the 2020 election. I tell Obika Farah, I say, here what's going on. I say, these people and them, some of them had to die out. Because they have no intention of accepting the truth that the PNA is no good. Obika Farah tell me, no, don't worry, come important, we have it in the bag, we have it in the bag. And me and I tell you, it really was looking good. But you see that? I'm sure happening the lowest. And if people realize that they have to vote in the best interests and stop voting on damn race and skin color, this thing can't cut it, Lennox. Trinidad have to start to educate this about the policies that govern them.
Yeah.
That is the only way you get out of the problem, you know.
I agree. Education, yes, education, but it's one that of a unique nature. Yeah, I agree with you. All right, we have some more callers coming in. All right?
I locked on listening.
Yes, okay.
All right, cool.
Yes, indeed. All right, sorry about that, of course, the other callers, but I had a little issue in studio here that I had to take off the picture in order to treat with. But of course, call, we will be taking your call. Yes, I think we have one here. Do we have one here? Yes, let's call him and see. What's happening here? All right, good. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Lennox.
Hey, good night.
Yeah, I tried to call you, but I don't know what the phone, man.
Yeah, oh gosh, boy, sorry about that. Yeah, I realized that there is a problem here. I noticed you ain't getting no ringtone, so I have to be watching the phone every minute. So I have to do something about that.
Yeah, Lennox, I've been listening to what are people saying, I think.
Yes.
But first of all, Lennox, hey, happy holidays, man. Take a break.
Yes, I took a break. I took a long break inadvertently because if things were perfect, I may not have. So the Lord moves in mysterious ways, His wonders to perform. So I am not sad or in any way regretful that, of course, I had the opportunity to take a good sleep and, of course, do some thinking as well. And, of course, ready for tonight. And, of course, even though Murphy's Law tried to overwhelm, I was able to, of course, counter with, of course, that's why you are on now. Go ahead.
Right. Now, actually, you're talking about our Canadian dollar. I can't understand it because they should change money like US dollars. US dollars, they want that very bad. Anybody that's hungry for that US dollar.
They said that if it was US, they did say that. But I thought the Canada is a strong economy. It's a strong currency.
Yeah.
It's not Japan or the yen or the other currencies of other countries, and I thought it was strange that they wouldn't want to change that.
But we take them here. We take them over here.
Yeah, well, of course, because
take the Canadian dollar.
You have a strong trading arrangement with the Canadians. They are on your northern border.
Lennox. Remember, listen, I don't remember what I told you months ago that I could sit back and enjoy the ride.
Yes.
Guess what?
It's happening.
Big bacchanal going on here, man.
Yeah, big bacchanal. Yeah, I see Trudeau.
Big bacchanal protest. But I said, no, not that alone.
Yeah.
I send you some videos, big bacchanal in the White House,
Okay.
Washington, D.C. People protesting like ants.
All right.
One in Washington,
Uh-huh.
Los Angeles, New York.
Okay. I'll check it out.
All different placement. Lennox. That man making some decision, boy. They affected me. We're frightened. We're frightened right now. Everybody's in fight edge,
Right.
so to speak. Right now, Trudeau and them, Canada, taking off all the United States.
Yeah, well, I see they want to.
Product where they have
They
shipping
look
over
like
there.
if they want to
They're
join
taking
the
off
European
official.
Union. Kind of look like if they want to join the European Union. Of
No.
course.
The whole thing about it, Ukraine come over there and they insult the man, on thing there, and then
Yeah, I saw it. I saw the.
he side, this man siding with Putin. Sorry to bring that over here, but this is affect everybody else,
Oh yes. The world.
He side with Putin, the man. That's treason. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Side with Putin, give him a chance. He destroy Ukraine, then he go to Poland, then he go west. Get what? I don't know what.
Yeah, that's the fear the whole of Europe has about Putin's agenda. Yeah.
Europe, everything. I'm going against Trump now.
Yeah. All right, but I'm going to take a look at it. I'm going to take a look at it because there are a lot of people want to get in.
Yeah, man, it's real bacchanal here.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
I
I've
want to
seen it.
I want to join the protest, but I ain't have time.
All right, I hear
Because
you.
they're keeping the pressure on,
Yeah.
They're keeping the pressure on,
Okay,
bro.
my friend.
But anyway.
Yeah. Yes. Pleasant good night, Mr. TCT. Welcome, and thanks for the assistance provided. Go ahead.
Pleasant good night. Lennox.
Hey.
Well, I want to ask you a question here.
Go ahead.
I see, you're Saudi Red Devils and them, right?
Right.
But the way how you looking there, you looking like a blue devil. You want to take over there now. It's licks for that Red Devil now. Licks for him.
Yeah. And this the blue on the rocket is to remove or to kill Maljo. Okay.
Well, that's for sure. But coming back to, I think you should take the top of the class as you just rightfully say when you hear something and you know something that is actually the truth.
Yeah.
Is that concerning this TT dollar here what we referring to?
Yeah, boy.
Bro, remember they change all the money, they take people money from in them little mattress, everybody
that's what they did.
Because
these are evil people.
let me tell you something. The average person sometimes kind of have certain criteria to open a bank account because they want to know what color shirt you're wearing, what color pants you're wearing, or you have home, hang up in your bedroom and all kind of bacchanal thing, right? So some people will have, and some people believe in holding on to their money rather than putting it in
back. Yeah, they want to see it, they want to feel it, they want to touch it, they know where it is.
And smell it and everything. Right. So big man thing. Now remember it had a little thing we call, I think, correct me if I'm misinterpreting it. I think it was DSS or something like that.
DSS?
Where they had the little extra money and stuff. The little extra money.
That is the Susu.
Everybody.
Susu.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now what become of that now?
Well,
what become of that?
When you are hearing them not making political heavy weather in their favor, you should know that it is another one that has blown up in their faces. Just because, as you mentioned by accident, the SSA, well, SSA too has blown up in their faces. That is the Strategic Services Agency, which Rowley said was planning to overthrow the government. And of course, the Susu issue, $24 million was supposed to threaten the financial sector of Trinidad. I don't know how the hell we are several billion size economy. But of course, 24 million could threaten. But that's Rowley's, of course, usual exacerbation and phantasmagorical stories that are so important when in fact is a storm, is a stormy making in a teacup, bringing of course investigators from Barbados and Scotland Yard and all of the usual theatrics and hogwash that we have grown to ad nauseumly for him to exhibit, and at the end of the day is nothing. It turns out to be nothing.
But again, as you will rightfully say, because there's like in two powerful words in here, what I will be saying is one is going to be a fantasy and one is reality.
Yes.
So he lives in a fantasy world.
Yeah, creates those fantasies.
And reality is what is taking place throughout the whole country and by extension the world.
Yeah, that's right. And he has contributed nothing.
No, let me tell you something.
Nothing.
This is something and also we must pay attention to. Is that he decided this is Trinidad and Tobago is a very special place in everybody's heart who's a Trinidadian and Tobago, right? It's a special place. It's our birthright. And we have only a few things, a few wonders of the world. We have the pitch lake, we have gas and oil and all different things. And one of the last one to come on stream is culture, which is the carnival fertility.
Yes, which we created indigenously.
As rightfully said, you invite a party, you have a big party, you invite everybody, the most important people, the most in your life to this party. But when they come now to look for the birthday boy not there. He ain't nowhere wrong. He gone.
Yeah.
So what party we serve? So, you understand? So
yeah, that's right. Yeah. Around whom the purpose for the entire exercise was that person, but he is absent.
Yes.
So there could be no party.
Yes. Yes. So what I'm trying to say is that is it something that is going to come out in the light or that's it in the dark?
It must eventually, because you're hearing Stuart Young. I mean, as I say, he's sounding like a duck bottom. He just flowing, like you take a dose of salt. Like he has, of course,
he was only wired down the labas.
Yeah, all the time. It was what? It was non-disclosure clause. We can't tell you. Suddenly is a million here. Is something for, of course, social development. It is another piece of money for signing the agreement. But if you hear the kind of money that and for what purpose this entire thing, and we have not received a drop of that gas, and you still want to go and say you want to be prime minister, I want to see that. Only wicked.
Well, yes. Well, let me listen to off here.
Yes, ma'am.
Again, I believe that everyone should just pay attention to these people and then get rid of them, dig them out, as the rightful last caller said, dig them out like yam, throw them on the side, or if they want, bring them African snails for them just to eat out all them yam they're bringing in. All right.
Yes, man. Yes, indeed. But of course, it's 10 o'clock. And I did start early, and I quickly, of course, recovered when, of course, we had a slight disconnection. But of course, you would know that we are up and running. Of course, we are still targeting that 40,000, even though we would have had some hiccups. But in the sphere of human endeavors and human experiences and interaction, and including, of course, where technology and other aids are required to assist, you sometimes get a throwback. You sometimes get, of course, a hindrance. But the human spirit is indomitable. And therefore, there shall be and must not be any relenting. And while we may experience a delay or a hump in the process, we must persevere relentlessly, focused, of course, on the objective. What is the objective? Getting rid of this group of individuals that have embarrassed, that have betrayed, and that have demonstrated a level of greed, high-handedness, and criminal behavior unprecedented. And so I leave you tonight by the same way I entered this discussion or began this program, and that is why it is Rowley is not in the country at this time, why he had to leave and go, and or how come he would have taken that position clearly with no foundational elements to suggest that he was planning his exit, and therefore his so-called argument for succession planning is null and void and of no effect. It could not have been when one, while of course postponing the internal elections of the PNM, two, that it is an election year. And therefore, there must have been preparations. Three, his letter to not the Commonwealth, but the CARICOM Secretariat asking for observers, all of which suggest preparation for what? For elections. He never told us that he's going to, of course, abandon that exercise to someone else. Never. He told us, of course, after the debacle with respect to that retreat in Tobago, 9/11/9, and then, of course, at Balize House, that what I consider to be entity that was constructed with blood money, yours and mine, and all of the people who died unnecessarily from COVID, and who died unnecessarily in the hospitals, and who died unnecessarily as a consequence of the presence of Hines as Minister of National Security, and of course certified by Rowley and the entire cabinet. Why Rowley we know to be, of course, a carnival man. How come after coming from where he said that he will have his last official engagement, he had suddenly to go to the United States in carnival, people, not Rowley. And there was no indication we would have had it, just as how he was rushed to the hospital just beyond St. James some time ago, because of course he was feeling ill. There was no indication of that. Why is Rowley out of the country at this time, and why hasn't he, of course, handed over? He says that he wants now to do so on the 16th, after, of course, he cut the ribbon for project site. You know, he loves to talk project sites. That will not be a project site, even though it is unfinished, because he deemed the Couva Hospital as a project site only because a road leading to it, one of the roads, would have caved in the side of it. But the thing has everything in it, but he sees it as a project site, only to fool you people in Laventil and East Port of Spain and Beetham and Silats and Diego Martins and up the corridor. I say to you, you have a duty and responsibility. And let me conclude tonight by telling you that the vote that you would have expressed whenever, in spite of the fact that Rowley will try to thief. But you have to get out there, because the country you are now required to save is your own, for your children and your children's children. But let me give you a piece of that humiliation that the Barbadian delivered on Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister.
Suriname, St. Lucia to Trinidad and Tobago, of the criminals at large in our communities, from Bahamas to Suriname, St. Lucia to Trinidad and Tobago, that they be deemed to be acts of terrorism.
Terrorism, no.
Good evening to Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. Today is Sunday, February 23rd, 2025, and this is Operation Liberation. In the closing stages of the the Caribbean Heads of Government conference held here in Barbados, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Keith Rowley, stated that gangs should be classified as terrorist organizations. Mr. Rowley, I would like to say to you, sir, in fact, I can't call you sir. That's too good a term to address you by. I gotta say, boy.
Imagine that. Imagine
because your behavior to date has been nothing more than juvenile, asinine behavior. And one of the things that I have to say to you is that Trinidad and Tobago signed the UN Security Resolution 1373 Anti-Terrorist Act on the 20th of September 2001. On the 19th of July 2007, Trinidad and Tobago also agreed and acceded to the Bioweapons Convention. Trinidad and Tobago also signed the Anti-Terrorism Act of 2018. Trinidad and Tobago also signed on the 25th of September 2013 the Arms Trade Treaty. But yet, you come to Barbados and sit down in a Caribbean Heads of Government conference and tell the CARICOM members that gang members need to be classified as terrorists. I want to ask you one question, Mr. Rowley, and being as your head is shining brighter than your future right now, I would like you to answer this question to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Who are the real terrorists? Trinidad and Tobago has recorded 3,702 murders between 2018 and 2024, and it's still ongoing because of policies your PNM government put in place. Who are the real terrorists? Furthermore, you, under your administration, implemented biological weapons in violation of UN Security Resolutions 1373. What have you done? You have violated that UN security resolution by allowing armed gangs to operate in Trinidad with full knowledge of your government. Mr. Rowley, you and the PNM will be brought to justice via the Caribbean COVID Crimes Criminal Justice Tribunal. You are nothing more than a corrupt terrorist organizer, and you are a corrupt political leader whom the rest of the corrupt Caribbean leaders have now sought to pay tribute to, simply because you are now covering your dirty little backside, trying to run away from the justice that is coming. The people of the Caribbean will hold you accountable, and you will be tried, you will be convicted, and you will be executed for the crimes against humanity. Have a good evening.
And of course, I thought I should put in this to show when there were people that tear gassed us, they held us and put us, of course, in station prison in Woodbrook and St. James under the pretext that they are protecting us, but they kept us there in close proximity to each other. In other words, social distancing was thrown out the door because we were saying Rowley must go now. Must go now. There we were around the savannah.
Must go! Must go!
Then pushback 1, pushback 2, up to pushback 5.
Must go! Rowley must go! Rowley must go! Rowley must go!
And go now!
Rowley must go! Rowley must go! Rowley must go! Rowley must go!
tear gas with tail. Rowley and they did that. Under Stuart Young and this narcoleptic Minister of National Security, Hines. That is what they did to us. How could that be forgiven? It cannot be. So Kurt Allen sang a song that was real to what is happening here and what has been our experiences. Let us not waste time with these people. 39 seats in Trinidad for the UNC and whatever configuration that they would have come up with. We have a mission, and that mission is to save Trinidad and Tobago from, of course, this bunch of vipers, this bunch of evil. I can't even call them Trinbagonians. What I could say, however, that they are unpatriotic and dangerous. Yeah, they're putting people in the bus.
Mr. Rowley, you and the PNM will be brought to justice via the Caribbean COVID Crimes Criminal Justice Tribunal. You are nothing more than a corrupt terrorist organizer, and you are a corrupt political leader whom the rest of the corrupt Caribbean leaders have now sought to pay tribute to, simply because you are now covering your dirty little backside, trying to run away from the justice that is coming. The people of the Caribbean will hold you accountable, and you will be tried, you will be convicted, and you will be executed for the crimes against humanity. Have a good evening.
Of the criminals at large in our communities, from Bahamas to Suriname, St. Lucia to Trinidad and Tobago, that they be deemed to be acts of terrorism.
Somewhere up in Laventille, many years ago, somewhere up in Laventille, many years ago, a man had a hammer, used to follow him to and fro. He used to use it to pong a pan, or sometimes a stupid man.
Yes, indeed, of course, people, we have come to the end of tonight's program. Don't forget, of course, those young people, those graduates from MLIO, the trade school. If you are Laventillian or you are associated or you want to volunteer, we need all hands on deck. All hands on deck. This is about saving not just our community, but by extension, Trinidad and Tobago. So yes, indeed, we have a political vehicle that we have hitched our future to, or with, that of the UNC, and Kamala Persad-Bissessar has proven to be who she says she is and has delivered between 2010 and 2015. And we have to be fools not to hitch our wagons, knowing full well that we cannot get Prime Minister, but we could get, of course, a good place and space to deliver to Laventille, which the PNM ought to have done. We cannot afford to have a government or a PNM of Mamagai. Trinidad and Tobago cannot afford the PNM. Economically, socially, addressing crime and criminality and security, our economy, our financial state of affairs, delivery of course, goods and services, and social welfare. Can't.
He used to use it to pong a pan. Somewhere up in Laventine, many years ago, a man had a hammer, used to follow him to and fro. He used to use it upon a pan. Somewhere up in Laventine, many years ago, a man had a hammer, used to follow him to and fro.
So people, of course, we have come to the end of tonight's program. Don't forget, of course, that tomorrow morning, the ground report, Andy, Mikey, and myself will be serving you. And, of course, we'll be back here tomorrow night when, of course, we will be continuing with these and other issues. I think it is most appropriate to end as we started with, of course, Kurt Allen and that wonderful rendition of the realities of Trinidad and Tobago today. We cannot help but, of course, empathize and associate with, of course, the contents, or should I say the lyrical content of that rendition. Let's say it again as we close. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Rowley is a wicked man, and we still want to know what you're doing in the United States. What has caused you to suddenly go there?
I want to fly before you go, before you think you'll get away. Well, you began in the Senate of opposition and waited your turn. Then with Manning as your PM giving directions, you studied and learned. You paid attention to Robbie Pandey, Kamla, observed there all their mistakes. So there is not one excuse that you can make, none that we can take. Cause we give you a turn to ride in DPM1 motor car. You change the whole interior with propaganda, it's smelling drunk, sour. We give you 2 turns as PM of this nation. So now it's my Creole obligation to give you a turn before your resignation. Remember, it's we who call Eric Duffy. We call Chambers Duncy. It's your turn now. It's me who beat Robbie like a Bobali. It's your turn now. So if we say you are a bully, don't take it personally. Your turn now. Go tell your friends and your family, it comes with the duty. It's your turn now. Do not believe that we are afraid to call a donkey a ass or a spade a spade. We will pepper you like a chow, Dr. Row. It's your turn now. Before you go, before you pack and run away, I wonder what Penny and Amory have to say. Before you go, before you think you'll get away, you tell the world you go lock, call the heart up. Once you get the vote. You said the buck is going to stop at the tippy top when you took your oath. The airport scandal section 34 email gate. Like a raging bull, you declared war and we took the bait. But since you get your turn, nobody at jail for corruption. Since you get your turn, no members of the opposition in prison. Since you get 2 turns, you promise to set things right. White collar crime you vow to fight. But is a center back with no bite. Remember, it's we who call Pandey racist. We even call him rapist. Your turn now. Silver Fox end up in jail till he come out looking frail. Your turn now. So if we say your government represents the 1%, your turn now. Really rich get richer, the poor man in the gutter. Your turn now. Do not believe your powers of Lekato could overthrow the power of a Calypso. The ancestors wouldn't allow Dr. Row. Your turn now. Before you go, before you pack and run away. So much unemployment, but still you raise your pay. Before you go, before you think you'll get away. I remember deceased Patrick Manning named you Rot, the Rottweiler, because every car that pass around the corner, you chase down the tire. political battles that came your way, you stood up and fought. And when they came with their slander and their hearsay, you took them to court. So we gave you a turn to guard, protect and defend the treasury. We gave you a turn to secure national security. We gave you 2 turns to be the mastermind, reduce violence and crime, but murders at the highest of all times. Remember, it's we who call Manning emperor, we call him a dictator. Your turn now, retreat patos like a louse, kick him out police house. It's your turn now. So if we say you are a puppet, you're lying in him but pocket. Your turn now. And with your shining bald head, we find your dread and a natty dread. Your turn. Well, do not believe because you brought Manning down. You could do the same with the Calypso crown and then act holier than thou. Dr. Rowe, your turn now. Before you go, before you pack and run away. Just as Patrick said, before you go, before you think you'll get away. After 45 years of public service, you deserve arrest. So you anointed as you're that too young to try with the mess. Now we hearing that your support base having real problem. Next election, they voting for a caring face to sit at the helm. Cause you fail in your turn to diversify the economy. Yes, you failed in your turn to create a real creative industry. You failed in your turn to be a superstar. Legalize marijuana and make Fitzgerald the line minister. Remember, it's we who call Kamala Trunka. She's smoking marijuana. Your turn.